What is up, everyone? Thank you so much for joining me. I am Audrey, and today I will be talking about the FF16 Ultimania book. And this book is gigantic. I've been literally poring over it the past 4 days, obsessively, literally trying to read everything. But I actually was out all weekend, so I wasn't able to post that much this past weekend, not as much as I wanted to. But yeah, I want to go over a lot of the stuff that I've posted thus far. And also, today I worked on this like freaking long ass history of Valisthea chronologic like basically, yeah, the history, I mean, like events that happened in Valisthea, and it took a long time to translate that one because it was very difficult. It was basically like translating a history book. Like I even asked some of my staff at some point. I was like, hey, like, how did you write this? Because like I'm kind of confused right now. And then like they were like, what am I reading, the Bible? And I was like, yeah, I know it's hard, it's difficult, because like even for a Japanese speaker, like a native Japanese speaker, they like are not able to fully comprehend what's going on, because the way that it's written, it's basically like the Bible. It's a very like text heavy. So yeah, I spent the like good 2 hours today translating. It's only bullet points, but I'll go over that today with you guys. I haven't posted that on Twitter yet because I haven't finished it, because there's another section, like the modern day part, where I haven't translated it yet because it took a long time. But I will post it probably tomorrow, and I want to show you guys what the Ultimania looks like. Oh, Lelouch026, thank you so much for the tier 1 sub. You are too kind, my friend. Thank you. But yeah, 700-ish pages. I showed it to you guys last. Oh, there's an ad. Okay, no worries. I'll just show this. This is the book. If you want to buy it, you can buy it on Itaikuji. It is, I think we're selling it for like 3,500 yen or something, like $25 or something like that. It's just really heavy though, so it might be kind of expensive to import. But it's all in Japanese, so if you don't read Japanese, I guess this is more like a collector's item. But if you want to follow along on what exactly I was translating, I pretty much translated the main points, like interesting points. So basically, you cannot translate word for word for text in Japan. It's not allowed. It's against copyright. Summaries are it's kind of like gray area, but like I'm not translating things word for word. I'm just kind of summarizing it, because each book has a disclaimer that says you cannot translate word for word. So that's why if you're wondering why my tweets are not like comprehensive and like fully translated pages, that's the reason why. It's just copyright in Japan is like that. So yeah. This is about 700, let me see, 751 pages. 751 pages, and yeah, pretty much like this part, like this middle part over here, like from here to here, these are all like bestiaries, accessories, and scenarios of how people, or how like if you're playing the game, how you can like beat the game. So it's not really like new lore or anything. The lore pages probably are comprised of like maybe 200 pages or less. Probably less than 200 pages, but those 200 pages are pretty crazy. And today I posted some stuff about Ultima, which I'm like a little confused because I only played the game once. Right now, my second playthrough, I'm just about to go to Bahamut, but I kind of don't recall Ultima's monologue very well. So today I like rewatched it and I had to read like the wiki about Ultima, because I'll talk about it later in the history of Valisthea, but it says that Ultima was born in this world. So I don't think he's an alien. But like my impression playing through the game was that he was an alien. So I mean, like, when I'm reading it, I'm like, yeah, it says that he was born in the world. But then I was like, but that doesn't really make sense because I thought he traveled from a different world. So unless they're using the word like tanjo suru is like to be born, basically, or like to pop up, like it's like to be created, I guess. So I thought that when I was playing the game, I thought that he like arrived in the world in not Valisthea, but like in the world that we're in. I don't know what the entire world is called. But then, yeah, it says that he was born there, so I'm like, eh. Like he does travel to Valisthea. So I'll go over it later when we get to the history of Valisthea part. But basically, it says like he was born in this world, and then this was in the primeval world before civilization existed, and he was the first. What is the word in English? Like advanced intelligent life form in whatever the world is. And then after that, he discovered magic, started using magic, and then the blight happened because they started using magic and siphoning the ether from the land to use magic. But the thing that is like kind of weird to me is like, since I guess he's like Adam per se, and so he basically made the world, but like he's not a god. I don't know, it's confusing. Yeah, it's kind of confusing. So I'll go over that with you guys today. But before we go to the history of Valisthea, I'll just do like pretty much a read through of all of the tweets I have posted since the book was out 4 days ago, and we can go through all of those, and I'll answer any questions you guys have. I read through the thread that I posted yesterday of people's questions. Some of them are not in the book, but I'll go over them anyway, and then let you guys also ask questions if you have any other questions throughout the stream today. But yeah, like the Ultima thing, like arriving in the world, or like I wrote arrived in the world because I was under the assumption that he's not from this world, but then I guess the literal translation would be he was born in this world. So that's a little, yeah, it's a little confusing for me, but I guess we can go over it. But yeah, anyway, for those of you wondering, this is again the book. It's gigantic. Absolutely gigantic. 750 pages of lore, basically. Lots of juicy bits. But the thing that kind of confuses me is like, so they have a lot of information in here, but does that mean that they're not going to have that information in DLCs, or will DLCs expand on the information that is in this book? I feel like they revealed quite a lot of backstory for each icon, which made me think like, oh, maybe they're not going to actually have DLC that's like a prequel about like each individual icon's backgrounds, which is kind of like, I mean, that sucks if they don't, but it'll be cool if they incorporate it somehow in the 2 paid DLCs they have for this game. All right, anyway, let's just jump right in. I will... I'll go through my tweets basically. The first ones, like when I first got the book on September 7th, the first thing I wanted to see was their ages. So I posted like pretty much people's ages. Is there anything about the size of each icon? No. Nothing about sizes, nothing about power ranking. Someone asked that in a thread. There is no, unfortunately, no lore about that. Clive is a human form of Ultima. In a way, he's able to harness the ability of numerous icons just as Ultima can. Also, the fact that there is this duality of the element of fire, Ifrit and Phoenix, perhaps there are other elemental icons that will resurface at some time. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of ironic. A lot of things are ironic in this game's story, and I think that irony makes the story interesting. other points of view of certain situations. Oh, you mean like if they're going to have DLC? I think they could cover what they wrote in the Ultimania, but then it's not a surprise anymore. So that's why I was kind of like, oh, I don't know what the DLC will be about. But yeah, anyway, so we can go through this. So the first thing that I posted, I guess, were the ages of everyone. So of course, Clive, Jill, and Joshua are 33, 30, and 28 post time skip. But they also revealed the ages of pretty much everyone else. And Dion is 28. Terrence is also 28. Benedicta is also 28. Sid is 44 and Hugo is 38. I definitely don't I did not think that Benedicta would be only 28. That was surprising to me because that means that she was having, affair with 3 men who are twice her age almost, or almost 3 times her age, but medieval times, I guess, explains that a little bit. Yeah, Benedicta being the same age as Clive was very surprising to me. I was not expecting that. I thought Benedicta was in her early 30s. I thought she was almost pushing 40. She doesn't look Jill is 28, or no, Jill is 30 and she looks younger than Benedicta. But maybe Benedicta Jill also saw a lot of shit. Yeah, Jill looks definitely younger than her. I thought she was almost 40 something. Annabella being 52 is like, what? Why does Annabella look as good as Benedicta, man? I know. Basically, my conclusion is that being evil makes you look hot. That's the key to eternal youth. You just need to be evil and have ties with Ultima. I don't know. If evil, why hot? Exactly. So yeah, this one was very interesting. Basically, most people, what they want to know from the Ultimania is, did Clive survive? Did Joshua survive? Did Dion survive at the end of FF16? Well, before I continue, this stream is going to be completely heavy spoilers, so if any of you guys have not finished the game yet, there will be major spoilers today. So that's just make sure to be aware that we're going to be talking about major spoilers today. So anyway, Lo, thanks so much for the 50 bits. Yes, Tokyo Game Show is next week. I'm going to go on the 21st and the 22nd as press, and I'll report from Tokyo Game Show and probably do a stream on the 22nd at night about it. But anyway, going back to this. Of course, they're not going to answer it because I feel like they want to leave it open-ended, and if they want to eventually make, a sequel or whatever, if they ever do, they have material they can work with. So basically, yeah, there was a question in the book that says, who actually wrote the book at the end? The book that shows that it's written by Final Fantasy, or titled Final Fantasy, written by Joshua Rossfield. Mayahiro answers, well, he says it's he doesn't actually give a clear answer. He says that it's up to player interpretation. What he can say though is Clive achieved his goal of a world where men can just live as men, where all of Ultima's influence bearers or dominance, magics and crystals, all of it was eradicated and the world was given to men instead. The epilogue shows that the world indeed is free from all of Ultima's influence. So, basically, Mayahiro was like, it's up to your interpretation, but at least Clive achieved what he wanted to achieve. So whatever that means is basically up to you to decide. Which sucks, because I know a lot of people want a more, definitive answer, more closure, but they're dead as fuck. Sure, they're not dead. My personal interpretation of the ending is that Clive Clive did what he wanted to do. He destroyed magic and made the world back to what it was before any of this magic thing happened, and where people can live normally. But he also, yes, I think that he also revived Joshua, and I think Dion fell into the ocean, so I think there's a good chance that he might be saved by, I don't know, Leviathan or something. But I don't think any of them, I personally am in the boat that none of them died. And the reason is because they want to make more games in the future. But I guess in-game lore-wise, I feel like, yeah, like why would Clive want to? I mean, I guess if anything, maybe Clive died, but I feel like Joshua and Dion did not, because Clive at the end, you know, he had so much magic, so he, like, why would he heal Joshua just to have Joshua die? Like, it makes no sense to me. It doesn't make sense. So I think that, like, at least Joshua and Dion survived, but I feel like Clive himself survived too, because he's a protagonist, and you know, he had all of the magic in his hand for a moment, so I'm sure he could also cast a freaking, you know, like defense spell on himself before he dies. But yeah, I personally think that, like, at least some of them lived. My interpretation that all of them died, I just want to see everyone cry. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I think that Clive definitely revived Joshua. It makes no sense for him not to, especially because when you see Joshua get healed, like, what's the point of Clive healing him if Joshua was already dead? Like, what, to make him look presentable? If so, to who? They're literally in like some random ass, I don't know, arc or some shit, origin. Where are they even going? Like, who's even gonna see them? That doesn't make sense to me. If he healed Joshua just to make his, like, you know, wounds go away, makes no sense. Honestly, the part about Clive making the world he wanted bit made me happy. That the whole idea of the whole adventure being nothing but a story told to kids be basically debunked, at least to some degree, if not 100%. Oh yeah, because some people thought that the game that we're playing, the story of Final Fantasy XVI, was all a fairy tale, right? Well, I mean, it still kind of is, right? Like, it's probably a history in this world, but the people in the epilogue were like, oh, like, you're still like fighting, or you're still talking about the icons and battles or something like that, and it's like, oh, put that like tale away or book away or something like that, right? So it does imply that it was almost like a fairy tale, so that does kind of still hold. Maybe he didn't want his last image of his brother being a more peaceful look instead of a fucked up body. I know, but like, who is he even presenting it to? Like, I don't know. I think that is really strange for him to heal Joshua's body, even though he has all of magic creation in his hand for a second. Like, I think that he at least healed Joshua. And I'm pretty sure that Dion survived as well. Especially after reading the history of Valisthea in the Ultimania book, it makes me even more inclined to believe that yeah, they survived. Actually, the history of Valisthea is very interesting. They have like a lot of emphasis on the Zemeckis. Basically, yeah, like the Zemeckis crystal was, well, the Zemeckis crystal's heart was in origin, and when the tragedy of Zemeckis happened, the crystal was destroyed because the Fallen were trying to fight with the Zemeckis to get the crystal resources of the Mother Crystal, and then one of Ultima got mad and destroyed the entire crystal. But it doesn't really say it destroyed the heart, because if Origin still existed, technically the crystal was still intact. So technically that means that Clive destroyed the crystal, which is very very interesting. And another interesting lore, I'll get to that later, is that there was like a teleportation portal called Jade. It's not necessarily a teleportation portal per se, but it's like a road or a path that led from the Zemeck's crystal to Origin directly, and that was specifically made by Ultima so that people can access Origin and they can like transfer ether to Origin easily that way. And it was called Jade. Yeah, that's like super new lore that I don't know. I didn't read that. But again, my Hippocrates is only level 7, so I don't know if that's like in level 8, but I don't think so. Because when I read that, I was like, what the fuck is Jade? So that's interesting. I'll get to that later. But yeah, so my Hito pretty much wants it to be open-ended. I am in the mindset that Joshua lived and Clive might have lived, but hoping he does, especially if he made the world without magic. Who's to say his petrification wouldn't be stopped once magic was fully gone? Yeah, exactly. Because if magic was gone, then the petrification won't happen. So it will stop at his hand, I guess. I mean, if anything, he probably lost his hand, but I don't think he died. I maxed out Hippocrates, and that's not in the tomes. That's crazy. Yep. Okay, that's what I thought. Because when I was reading, I was like, why, like, Jade? What are the implications? I don't know if you guys have, like, any theories that you can come up with from that. But anyway, let's continue. This is, the one with Dion and Terrence. I guess I can go through their timelines together, but one of my first posts was that for Dion and Terrence in their profile for their timelines, it says that they started dating when they're both 18 years old after Dion protected Terrence from a devastating blow during a battle. Terrence then took care of Dion when he was gravely injured, where he also confessed all his feelings, which began their romantic relationship, and they have been child friends since they were 7 years old. So this was completely new lore. This has never been revealed before until the Ultimania came out, and we do know from interviews that Terrence and Dion are childhood friends, but it didn't tell us in the capacity of how long they've known each other. But then Ultimania let us know that they have been friends since they were 7. Terrence was born into a minor noble family, and he and Dion studied together and then eventually enrolled in the Dragoons together as well. I'll go over their background with the timelines that I posted, but yeah, pretty much what was interesting about Dion's timeline is that he was crown prince of Sambrec, but because he became a holy knight of the Dragoons, he had to renounce his title, and that was on the same page as Annabella's profile, which I suspect that Annabella wanted him to take up that title so that Olivier could be crown prince. Annabella is like in the background doing all this random shit. I posted earlier today that she and the Emperor Sylvester met at the Remembrance ceremony, and from there plotted a whole scheme to basically have Sambrec take over Rosaria. So that was kind of ridiculous. Yeah, it was super evil. But it's, yeah, I'll go into that later. But like Sylvester is also a very interesting character. Like, I don't know why Dion was so why he revered his father so much, because he was a piece of shit basically. He had Dion with some random girl, and then because it was embarrassing, he ordered that girl to be killed, and then after that tried to hide this fact that Dion was not purebred or whatever. And I feel like the only reason why he even cared for Dion is because Dion was at birth almost 1 year old actually. They told they told Sylvester and everyone that Dion was the dominant of Bahamut. So I feel like that's the kind of only reason he kind of cares for him. Yeah, I don't understand Dion's reverence for his father, because there's like a section in his profile that says he wants his father's love, but it's like, why? His father doesn't even like you. And then at the end of the game, when Dion, falls into the ocean or whatever, he's like, oh, like at last it's done, father, or whatever. It's like, bro, why do you care about your dad so much? He doesn't care about you. Just let it go. Go and live your life. Like, it kind of made his character arc a little less impactful, because like his dad was not that great. It's a sad, I mean, yeah, I guess it goes with the whole theme of it being tragic. Everything, it's like a tragedy, right? But I still hope that they're all alive. Tolosis, thank you so much for the Prime sub. All right, let's go to the next one. Mid. Okay, so for Mid, I haven't posted her timeline yet, but I did post some like important points, I guess. So she's 16 years old, post time skip, and she was a mechanical genius from a young age and enrolled in Canberra University when she was only 11 years old. When she was born, she was abandoned in the forest, where a 33-year-old Sid came across her during one of his faraway missions while serving Waloed, and he decided to adopt her. So Mid is basically a genius. What I didn't post was that she enrolled into Canberra for like mechanical engineering, and she was so good that she even helped polish the mechanical engineering department herself at like age 11. It's ridiculous. But yeah, Mid is a genius, and she was actually found in I don't actually, oh yeah, she was found in a forest, but where was the location? Let me see. Give me a second. Where is she originally from? Oh, she's originally from the outer continent, actually, which I guess I didn't write that. But yeah, she's from the outer continent, but she was found in a forest, and then she grew up in Waloed, because Sid brought her in and adopted her. Dion died. I think out of all the three characters, Dion has the most chance of being alive, just because he basically fell into the ocean. Like, no body, no death. Like, I mean, you kind of see Clive dying, and you see Joshua's body as, him being dead, but Dion, you never see his body, so I'm pretty sure he's alive. Pretty sure he's alive. Dion's the only one who wanted to die, but like he wanted to die for such like illogical reason. Just because he killed his dad who didn't even love him. Like, it doesn't make sense. He didn't fall in the ocean though, he fell right in the city. I mean, Origin could have been, he could have been really high up, Origin's only but a circle, right? He could have fell out of that into the ocean below, right? Anyway, going back to Miz. Yeah, so she was brought up in Waloed, which is interesting as well. He's dead in hundreds of people. I mean, yeah, he did kill a lot of people. I do, yeah, know that he definitely did bad stuff, but he was also under the influence of Ultima, right? So wasn't exactly like premeditated. Mid is 17 years younger than Benedicta. With Edda being pregnant at 17, you're copying that Mid is Benedicta's daughter gets to be true. I hope that, well, I mean, okay, let me just, hold on. She was born in the year, let me check. Benedicta, okay, hold up. Let's see if we can spin some theories here right now. Okay, so Mid was born in the year 862. Benedicta in the year 860 ran away from her, oh. It could be possible. It could be possible. because that's when she ran away from her like master who bought her from her parents as a maid, and then she got attacked by bandits and was saved by Sid, and this was in year 860. Mid was born in year why is it where's Mid? Where is it? Mid. Okay. Yeah, Mid was born in year 862, and from 860 to 863, Benedicta was brought to Waloed and stayed there, and that's when she met Sid in 860. But that doesn't make sense because Mid was originally from the outer continent, and then she was found in a forest. But where? Hold on. Where was she found? Interesting. Nah, I don't think that Benedicta would be her mom. But I mean, I can't say that she's definitely not her mom, but I don't think it would be because she is technically from the outer continent, and it says that Sid. Let me see. No, it doesn't say that for Sid. Actually, it doesn't say it for Mid's profile either, because I was wondering where she, how she grew up in Waloed. Live Mid reaction. I think it's. Wait, Benedicta was when Mid was born, Benedicta was 17. And if Edda is pregnant at 17, technically it's, I guess, kind of possible. But the only thing that's not making me believe that is that Mid was found in a forest when Sid was on an expedition. And it says that Mid is originally from the outer continent, so I assume that she was brought to Waloed from the outer continent. But if we actually want to, become like Pepe Silva theory crafting, madness, then we could stretch it and say that technically, because Sid is from the outer continent, that's why Mid is also from the outer continents. But that doesn't really make sense to me. But it does say that she was brought up in Waloed, which is also interesting because that means that she was brought up when Benedicta was there and already knew Sid. So maybe they did bring her up together. Interesting. We already Pepe Silva. Colossus, thank you so much for the 100 bits. Interesting. It's not impossible. I still think that she is, personally. Not impossible, but a bit improbable. Live theory crafting just now. What do you guys think? Mid is their child, but then why would he find his child in the forest? And what did he know that Benedicta is pregnant? Strange. Anyway, going to the next one. This one, this is not really it's not their profiles, but I can come back to this one. Remembrance ceremony, Joshua met Dion there when they were both 9 years old, and the remembrance ceremony itself, so the book doesn't actually call it the remembrance ceremony per se. They said it was a conference that involved three kingdoms, Rosaria, Dalmekia, and Sambrek. But you can infer from the context that because Joshua says, how many years has it been since the remembrance ceremony, and if you calculate the math, it turns out that they met around 9 years old, then that's why I assume that it's called the remembrance ceremony. Anyway, on to our turn. Guild, like, okay, I'll talk about. Well, I mean, this is like kind of just random. It's just a little like I tagged it FF16 Ultimania, but it's just kind of like a blurb that I wrote. I can go to their profiles directly and then talk about it from there. This is also another one that requires us to go through Sid and Barnabas and Sleipnir's profiles first. So I want to go through the character profiles first. So the next one is the character profile for FF16 Joshua. So the book sort of explains what Joshua was doing after the events at Phoenix Gate. He lost consciousness for 5 years, where he was taken in by the Undying. There are still gaps within some years that are unexplained. Year 859, at age 9, Joshua meets Dion for the first time at the Remembrance Ceremony. Oh, I forgot to write, or I guess I didn't think it was important, but yeah, age 0 is when he was born, and he had the Phoenix dominant powers immediately at birth. They knew that he was the dominant of Phoenix at birth. And then after that, at age, let me see, age 1 through 8, he was very sickly, and then he, was enrolled. Oh wait, actually, hold on. Oh yeah, he had to stay indoors a lot because he was his body was very weak. And then at age 8, and then finally though at age 9, he was able to go and attend this ceremony, which is presumably the Remembrance Ceremony. At age 9, and he met Dion there. And then 1 year later, at Phoenix Gate, he almost died, but was taken in by the Undying. Year 865, at age 15, Joshua finally gains consciousness by a miracle. Year 866, age 18, his body is finally healed, and he starts to investigate the tragedy surrounding the other fire dominant. He pours himself into text and literature and resumes his training with a blade to protect himself. Year 870, at age 20, he hears words of sightings of a bearer who uses fire magic. The Undying tells him that it's possible Clive is the other fire dominant, but they continue to search for the actual mastermind. Year 872, age 22, he learns about Ultima's presence from the clues left by Moss the Chronicler. He sets off to find traces of Ultima and goes with his servant Yote, where they journey across all the lands. Year 873, age 23, events of Caer Norvent happens, Drake's Heads happens, he seals Ultima away within himself. Year 874 through 877, he sets forth to figure out what Ultima's true goal is. Because he has sealed Ultima within himself, it requires much of the Phoenix power, and the petrification of his body spreads. That's not in the game. I didn't know that he was being turned to stone. The game kind of implies that he's just having a bad time because Ultima is in him. I think that's kind of new info. When I read that, I was like, oh shit, he has the petrification too? Yeah, so that's interesting. And then year 878, age 28, after knowing that Ultima was behind the political unrest in Sambrec, he goes to find Dion to ask him to join his cause. He is reunited with Clive, and together they proceed to defeat Ultima. He was straight up not having a good time, man. Yeah, you never see Dion's petrification, you never see Jill's petrification. You can see Sid's, but the former two, you don't really see the physical one. Wow, 66% of you guys think that Clive lives, so nice. Team Micmac, thank you so much for all this. You're a legend. Oh, no worries. I'm just a lore crazy. I just want to know, like, I like the knowledge. I like to have the knowledge of what's happening in the game. But like, it's just kind of sucky that I'm not level 8 Hippocrates, because I know that I just know when I'm like translating it, I'm like, oh, I'm sure that there's some part that I like am writing that's already in Hippocrates, but whatever. So yeah, it's kind of hard to choose like, oh, this is interesting. Wait, maybe it's actually not already, like, yeah, maybe it's already talked about. And then so I would Google it and I'm like, yep, it's talked about. Okay, fuck. So that happens. We just see Dion's arm with bandages or something. Exactly. Does Joshua live? I think Joshua lives. I'm gonna vote yes. I think Clive lives. Well, I'm kind of 50-50. I think either Clive, like, it makes sense if Clive died, and it also makes sense if Clive lives. My reasoning for it making sense that Clive died is that because he used all of that magic all at once, it probably took a toll on his body and he died. But the reason why I think Clive lives is because I think that Square Enix wants to make another game and use Clive, so why would you kill off Clive if they want to continue the story? That's one reason. And another reason is if he stopped the blight from happening, he eradicated all of magic in the world, and he, his hand is petrified. Like, why does he have to die? It's just his hand. I'm sure that he just passed out, and eventually they'll find him, in the shore of, I don't know, Waloed or something, and then save him there. He consumed the ether the incorrect way. Yeah, but I mean, it could go both ways, I think. Why would it stop? Because he stopped magic from happening anymore. So after he stopped magic from happening, and Metia, blinks out or whatever, like, why does he have to die? Like, why doesn't he just pass out? Like, he could have just passed out, right? I don't know. I mean, for me, it could be either way, either or. All right, let's go to the next one. So the thing with these timelines is that they're kind of all connected to each other. So Joshua is connected to Clive's, that's connected to Dion, that's connected to Sylvester, that's connected to Olivier, that's connected to Annabella. So it's like they're all connected. So it's really difficult when I was translating it to figure out like how the best way to write this, because a lot of it was like in each other's lore. So like Mid's lore was in Sid's, and then Sid's lore was in Benedicta, and the Benedicta's lore was also in Hugo's, and like it's all over the place. So yeah, I tried my best to kind of combine the important parts, but like as I was translating it, I was like, oh shit, I should have added this in the previous person's lore, but like whatever. So what I did translate was pretty much what I saw on the page. So someone else, probably one of you guys, if any of you have time, you can probably make a like comprehensive lore based on each year. I think that's the easiest way to organize all of these things. So like each year, what happens to Sid, each year, what happens to Mid, and so forth, and then see the connections from there. Because right now, like going from character to character, it's like more information comes out from another characters that supplements the previous character. So we'll just go with what I wrote down for now. Cool. So FF16 Ultimania for Sid, profile and timeline. He was born on the outer continents to a very poor family. Rama awoken in him when he was fighting as a mercenary at the age of 18, where Barnabas asked him to come to Waloed and work as a soldier at first. And then he saved Benedicta from thieves while he was on a mission. At age 44, that's when Clive meets him. So his timeline is a year 829 and age 0. He was born into a poor family in the outer continents. Year 845, at age 16, he goes to Valisthea as a mercenary. So from age 0 to age 16, we have no idea what he did. So that's interesting. Year 847, at age 18, while fighting as a mercenary, Rama awakens within him and he becomes a soldier for Waloed after meeting Barnabas. Year 850, entrusted the position of Lord Commander of Waloed by Barnabas. He was at age 21. Year 855, age 26, he embarked on a mission and meets the ferryman Otto, and they become friends. Year 860, age 31, during a mission, rescues a young girl named Benedicta who is being attacked by bandits. Year 862, age 33, during a mission, he comes across an abandoned baby named Mid in the middle of a forest, who he then adopted. Year 867, age 38, he renounces his position of Lord Commander and leaves Waloed after learning that all of the chaos that transpired was due to Barnabas and Ultima's plans. He reunites with Otto Year 869, age 40, he sets up the hideaway within the Blight. Year 873, age 44, he meets Clive and Jill, gives Rama's power to Clive. So Sid's profile is quite related to Barnabas's profile, who's also quite related to Sleipnir's profile, because Sid was Lord Commander only after Barnabas was approached by Ultima, and Barnabas put lots of different plans into motion to create chaos so that Clive can become Mythos and absorb all of the different dominance powers. So I will talk about Barnabas right now. Before Sid was appointed Lord Commander of Waloed, Sleipnir had always held that title ever since they overtook Veldemark, which was in year like 842 or something. 842. And so the only reason why Barnabas made Sid Lord Commander is because he knew, or Ultima knew, that if he were to make Sid Lord Commander and Sid has some kind of thing going on, well, I don't know how far he would have saw this, but like I guess as Ultima I actually don't know if Ultima is omniscient or not, but depending on how far he saw it, he pretty much like either he actually did trust Sid a lot and made him Lord Commander just because he was like, okay, sure, whatever, and then Sleipnir can be his advisor, that's another thing that Sleipnir does, is like he's Barnabas's advisor. But like if he did that like just because he thought Sid was very capable, then that's one interpretation. But what I think is probably the more likely interpretation, based on what Barnabas's profile says, is that after he was approached by Ultima to basically prepare Mythos or whatever as the vessel, everything he did pretty much was like something to do with getting to that eventual goal of making Clive absorb all of the dominance. So maybe he foresaw that Sid would betray Waloed, and then his betrayal would affect other people, such as Benedicta, and that then will spiral and then make everything connected at the end, and Clive has to fight Benedicta, and then he absorbs Sid and so forth. So it could be that he just like was kind of omniscient and saw into the future, like, oh, if I do this, then this is what's going to happen, which that's my interpretation of it. Maybe Ultima was Pepe Silva this entire time. Maybe. So the thing that's interesting, so I have, this is Barnabas's, and then let's go back to Sid's. Sleipnir, Sid. Okay, so yeah, he met Benedicta age 31, and age 21 he was entrusted the position of Lord Commander of Waloed. Sleipnir was Lord Commander of Waloed 7 years before Sid was. And Sid was only became Lord Commander of Waloed after Barnabas met Ultima in the year of 850, which is, I think, the same year. Yeah, so that makes me believe that Barnabas thought that if he made Sid the Lord Commander, all of these events will spiral and bring Ultima to his goal. Anyway, so let's talk about Barnabas's background. For FF16's Ultimania spoilers, FF16 Ultimania book profile for Barnabas and his timeline. So year 808, he is 70 years old. Barnabas is 70 years old, and in year 808, at age 0, he was born in the outer continents within the circle of Malleus, and his mother raised him with the strict teachings of the Demex. Year 814, at age 6, his mother took him to Valisthea as the blight was affecting the outer continents. They went to Ash, where followers of the Circle of Malleus lived. In year 826, age 18, his beloved mother died in a battle between religious divisions, and this awakened Odin's powers within him. He created human Sleipnir during this time, and he became the leader of his tribe and started on his conquest of all the other groups in Ash. In Year 842, age 34, he conquered Veldemark since it was the only place for him left to conquer on Ash before he could make the kingdom of Valud. And he also appointed Sleipnir as Lord Commander at this year as well, 842. In year 843, age 35, he officially founded the kingdom of Valud. In year 847, at age 39, he came across a young Sid who was the dominant of Rama and brought him to Valud. In year 849, age 41, intervened during Canberra's independence. In year 850, age 42, at the same time Joshua was born, Ultima appeared before Barnabas in the form of his beloved mother. He joined his cause and became Akashic. To fulfill the destiny of the people of Zemex, he caused the world to be thrown into chaos, all to ensure that Clive becomes mythos. Year 865, age 57, war spreads across the lands. Some he participates in as well. Year 867, age 59, Sid leaves after hearing that all this war was intentional from Barnabas's plans. Year 873, age 65, he sets forth plans that will cause Clive to encounter various dominants so he could absorb their powers. He also participates in the Battle of Belennis Tor. Year 878, age 70, he fights Clive and forces him to absorb Odin, thus fulfilling his goal. So, Barnabas is age 70, but he's physically, his appearance looks like he's 42 years old. The reason being is because he gave himself to Ultima at the age of 42 and became Akashic, which is kind of shitty because Ultima pretty much used, Barnabas's trauma to show up as his mom and then made him join his cause, which is kind of messed up. I didn't know he was, he's 42. Okay, he's not 70. Okay, yes, he's 70, but in appearance he's 42, so that's totally fine. I know he's 70, but in his appearance he looks 42. I am not into a 70-year-old, please. He is 42. He looks like... Sleipnir is... He might be 52, but Sleipnir literally is not a human. Maybe. So... I'm still hit. Oh my god. I mean, he is, physically 42. So, anyway, my fave is not even Barnabas. My fave is Sleipnir, and Sleipnir is probably 20-something physically, but in actuality, he's 52. He's not human, so it doesn't count or something. Exactly. I honestly can't really save myself from this. It's not my fault that they made their ages so old. But yeah, magic. It's just, he's 42 in appearance, even though he's 70. So we're just gonna gloss over the fact that he's 70. What's funny? Hippocrates is 74. Hippocrates, and let's look at the difference. This is Hippocrates. He's 74. Barnabas Tharm. This is Barnabas, 70, and this is Hippocrates, 74. Barnabas has great skincare routine. Oh, here we go. This is better. Hippocrates, age 74. Barnabas, age 70. Great skincare routine, guys. Anyway, so again, that Barnabas's timeline connects to Sid's timeline, that connects to Mid's timeline, that connects to Benedicta's timeline, and so forth. So the thing that is interesting, though, is that Barnabas. One thing that kind of confused me is that I watched the interview with David Mencken where he talks about Barnabas's background, or at least maybe that was his interpretation of Barnabas's background before the Ultimania came out. But he did mention that Barnabas was alone for the entire time, so that's why when Ultima comes and shows up as his mom, like of course he would join Ultima's cause. That interview was really interesting because I thought that, like, as a voice actor, probably they did give him some lore to get into character and understand the character, but the Ultimania came out and it said that actually Sleipnir was a byproduct of Odin awakening in Barnabas. It does say that Barnabas created him, but it's not really like, it doesn't mention if he actually created him like knowingly, or if it just was like Odin popped up and then Sleipnir was there. And basically Sleipnir has been with Barnabas and served him for 52 years until Barnabas died in battle with Clive and made him absorb Odin. So that's interesting to me because that means that actually Sleipnir was there as his basically his like support from the trauma that happened after his mom died, which is really sad. Because that means that like Barnabas really relied on this magical being to like pretty much have him cope through his trauma, and I really hope that they have something like that or talk about that in the DLCs, because that's kind of an interesting twist in Barnabas's character that makes you feel more like it makes you feel very like, oh man, like he was a really tragic character. What do I think the 2 DLCs will be? Leviathan for sure, and I hope something to do with Waloed, but like Leviathan, since the crystal of Drake's Horn was in Waloed, I think that Leviathan's DLC will already involve Waloed in some way. So that's going to be interesting. I think that, I don't know if the DLCs will be, for example, like 2 separate, completely different stories, or if it's going to be kind of like a continuation and then the next one is another continuation of the first one. But if it's 2 separate stories, then yeah, one of them I'm sure will be the Leviathan. It's like, why would they talk about Leviathan and not even have it show up? And another one, probably Joshua. I think Joshua has a lot of interesting potential that could be shown, or what Clive and Jill were doing within the 5-year time skip that also isn't really talked about much either. Yeah, they have to give Waloed related DLC because literally Leviathan's crystal was in Waloed. So Barnabas riding Sleipnir, I mean Odin riding his horse. Exactly. I love their dynamic. I specifically, like, my favorite character in FF16 for a very strange reason is Sleipnir, and I'm super loud about it. I'm so sorry, but he's just so interesting to me, so that's why yeah, I would love to have more DLC content in Waloed. But yeah, Leviathan would be very interesting. I'm sorry, I don't know why. Like, I think you guys, I mean, for those of you who are watching me stream FF16 from my first playthrough, once like Sleipnir and showed up in Dhalmekia, I was like, oh shit, I'm in trouble. Like horses. But yeah, his equestrian outfit is very, very nice. I like it a lot. But I like from the beginning, actually, I was already like, even when the Awakening trailer came out in 2020, I was like, ooh, like who that guy in the background? And I was always thinking about that one guy. I'm like, okay, everyone kind of looks like not that hot, but that one guy in that background, in that one scene in the trailer, like if it is a guy, like he hot. If it's a girl, he hot. So I was like always looking at that one character, and then when the demo came out, I was like, oh my god, like he looks even better than I thought. He's basically just like an evil Hypnodeus, so What dominants do you think got killed in the Iron Kingdom? I don't think any dominants were killed in the Iron Kingdom, because the history of Valisthea doesn't say that. Anyway, let's go on to the next one. So Barnabas is connected to Sleipnir's lore as well. So FF16 Ultimania for Sleipnir harbored his profile and timeline. He has some highlights. Barnabas created him when Odin's powers awakened within him at the age of 18 after his mother was slaughtered. Sleipnir's actual physical appearance age is unknown. Appointed Lord Commander of Waloed long before the title was given to Sid, his swordsmanship rivals that of Barnabas. He wields an S-stock is the name of his sword. He's called the Undying Knight and is the Lord Commander of the Waloed army. His skill with the sword rivals that of Barnabas. He quickly gained control of the Waloed Knights with his formidable skills. He always seems calm and composed, but he looks down on humans. Sleipnir's way of thinking and values are influenced by Barnabas. He shows an interest in Clive only as a reflection of Barnabas' own thoughts as well. He got his name Undying Knight due to the fact that he seems to always come back from the dead even when defeated. And multiples of him can exist at the same time, and he is actually Odin's horse. Timeline is year 826, age unknown. Odin's powers awakened within Barnabas at the age of 18, and Sleipnir was also created. He has accompanied Barnabas ever since. Age 43, his age is still unknown. After the kingdom of Waloed was instated by Barnabas, he appoints Sleipnir as Lord Commander of the Waloed army. A year 873, age unknown. He participates in the council meeting at Zinertra's stronghold, and he fought against Bahamut at Tor as his horse self. Year 877, he saves Hugo from Clive in Rosaria and makes him absorb the Mother Crystal's heart, and he invades Canver with Barnabas and fights Clive, and he appears at the Ironworks again, fights Clive, and then becomes Odin's horse and has a showdown with Clive at Reverie. And he is also mentioned to be Barnabas's close advisor, basically like his right-hand man. And that is information that was not in his Hippocrates lore. A lot of this information is not in his Hippocrates lore, which leads me to think that he's not just a eggy. Hippocrates' lore is what Hippocrates has observed, but Ultimania's books lore is what the devs made. So I think that maybe if they were to talk more about Sleipnir, they would probably explore the fact that like he literally is like a parallel of Ultima creating man. Barnabas created pretty much a human, and I talked about it couple days ago in a theory that I had, where I think that basically Sleipnir is what Torgal is to Shiva, or what Torgal is to Clive and Jill, what Fenrir is to Shiva. He's basically like, I personally think he's his own magical being that is part of Odin, but obviously like not just a reflection of Barnabas's conscience. It can go either way, but I think that because he exhibits human qualities, and he is basically the person who rules Kingdom of Waloed together with Barnabas, unless Barnabas is living in an echo chamber all by himself, which is really sad and impossible, but unless he is doing that. If he's not, I personally think that Sleipnir could be like what Torgal is. Like he's still an independent being, although he's related to his icon. Not just an eggy, not just a simple eggy, I guess. Oh, what was the current poll? Joshua related? Oh yeah, I'm pretty sure it's gonna be Leviathan related, but it's more like, what is the second DLC gonna be like? Sleipnir is just the horse version of Torgal. Exactly. That's my theory, and I think it kind of makes sense. It like holds its own weight because of what we saw from the Ultimania. Because I always thought like after that one dungeon scene, I was like, wait, what if that was actually a reflection of Sleipnir's own thoughts and insecurities? And then the Ultimania came out, I was like, that actually does make sense if it was a reflection of his own thoughts and insecurities, that he developed a will. And it's very interesting in the history of Valisthea that I will go through in a bit, that man developed a will, and Ultima frowned upon that, and basically destroyed man, and made them degrade back to when they were in their like primitive state, and that's how the current civilization was formed. A lot of interesting lore that they released within this history section. Took me forever to translate it, but I'll go over it in a bit. Benedicta has Eggy as well, but like Superna and Charada, definitely not as intelligent. It seems like they're just kind of monsters. So that's why I personally think that Sleipnir is almost human. And I think he can function as his own person. Like he doesn't share, he's not Barnabas, I guess, if that makes sense. Like he's not a extension of Barnabas anymore. Maybe he was in the beginning, but he is no longer, in my theory, I don't think he is an extension of Barnabas anymore, based on what the Ultimania gave us. But yeah, Barnabas turned into Akashic in the year 840. What was it? No, not 840. When was he? He turned Akashic in 850, year 850, and then he made Sid Lord Commander in 850, but it was kind of like funny because the entire time, like, Sleipnir knows that he's the true Lord Commander. Barnabas doesn't say anything in the first meeting, but Sleipnir knows his thoughts. Yeah, so the profile does say that Barnabas's thoughts are reflected into Sleipnir. So if Barnabas thinks or wants to think oh, like, you know, can you talk to them for me, then Sleipnir can kind of like read his thoughts almost. That's like what it says over here, that like his interest in Clive is like a reflection of Barnabas's thoughts. But yeah, next one is where's Benedicta? Yeah, they have like almost like a psychic link, I guess. Benedicta's profile from the FF16 Ultimania. So she's age 28 when Clive meets her. And due to her deep connection with Sid, she still holds on dearly to the pendant he gave her, as she cannot throw away her feelings for him. She was sold to a wealthy family at the age of 6, and Sid allowed her to begin a new life after he saved her, and she loves yet also hates him due to him leaving. She will always remember the moment he reached out and saved her. Her timeline is a year 845, age 0. She's born to a poor family in the countryside of Alud. A year 851, age 6, she was sold to a wealthy family where she served as their servant girl. Year 860, at age 15, she was almost killed by her master for a theft she did not even commit, and that is when Garuda awoke within her. She ran away and was attacked by bandits, but luckily was saved by Sid. She became a Walud soldier, and Barnabas appointed her a last name Harmon, which means servant of God. So at year 860, this is when Barnabas is already Akashic. So you can keep that in mind. And then year 863, age 18, she joins Walud's intelligencers and was sent to make contact with Hugo. Year 865, age 20, she's now involved with Hugo, and she's promoted to the leader of the intelligencers. Year 867, age 22, Sid leaves Walud and she begins to resent him. And then year 873, age 28 is what happens in the game, where she gets killed by Clive and absorbs her powers. And the book does not talk about what happens in between age 22 and 28 for Benedicta. So yeah, interesting reveals as well. She was a servant at the age of 6, which is really messed up. And she, at age 15, was going to be killed by her master, which is also messed up. But that's when Garuda awoke within her. But yeah, she's originally from Walud, and eventually joined the soldier division and then became an intelligencer. And again, her timeline matches with Sid's as well, because Sid found her when he was on an expedition. Yeah, so like she was, I don't know how old she was when she started, you know, having an affair with Barnabas. Because I mean, Barnabas is still 42, and she, like, even if she's 28, like, that's a pretty big gap. But I mean, medieval times, I guess. A lot of messed up stuff. A lot of messed up stuff. But yeah. I don't think, well, I mean, the book doesn't say that she was, you know, a victim, but I guess you can interpret it that way. But it just said that she was sold to the family, to the wealthy family, as a servant girl. All right. Okay, let's go. I'll do Hugo's first because it's also related to Benedicta. So FF16 Ultimania spoilers for Hugo. Profile and timeline. He's age 43, post time skip from Dhalmekia, and he genuinely loved Benedicta, but she was just using him, which is sad. His love for her drove him crazy, and Titan awoke within him when a small division he led during the liberation of Canver was completely annihilated. So that's interesting as well. That's news. So timeline is year 835. At age 0, he was born to a family of farmers in Dhalmekia. Year 850, at age 15, he enlists in the Dhalmekian army. Year 857, age 22, he participates in the liberation of Canver, but the small division led by him was completely annihilated. After losing the battle, his sadness and anger caused Titan to awaken within him. So this Battle of Canver's liberation is interesting because Rosaria and Waloed and Dhalmekia were involved in this, and they eventually were able to liberate them. So that's why it's called the Free Cities of Canver. And then year 860, age 25, he becomes involved in the Dhalmekian government and moves to the castle in Dhalmekia. Year 865, age 30, he meets Benedicta for the first time, falls in love. She promises that together they can rule the world. Year 873, age 38, fights Shiva in the Nysil Defile, learns of Benedicta's death and vows to kill Sid, destroys the hideaway. Year 878, age 43, he's hunting Sid and wants to kill Clive. He loses his Titan abilities, but is saved by Sleipnir, who manipulates him into absorbing the Mother Crystal's heart. He then fights Clive again and loses. Solid. Titan really said, "Damn, you need a win after your massive failure. I'll do you a solid." Yeah, pretty much the reason why Titan awoke within Hugo is because his whole division during his battle at Canver got annihilated. So Titan was like, it mentioned in the book that he was extremely sad about it and angry about it. So that's why Titan awoke within him. Remember the remembrance that united Rosaria, Dhalmekia. You know why it happened? Because Ellen was worried with Canver becoming independent. Is that what it is? Because I don't know. It didn't mention that in any of their profiles. But I haven't gone to that part of the history timeline yet. All right, so next one is Jill. FF16 Ultimania profile for Jill and her timeline as well. In Valisthea, there's a saying that if you wish upon the star next to the moon, Metea, she will grant you your wishes. Jill is seen doing this to pray for Clive's safety. Jill and Clive are often seen talking under the shining moon and star of Metea, and it's a very precious time for the two of them. Jill was enslaved by the Iron Kingdom and used as a weapon. She did this to protect the other girls who were also enslaved, but it soon took a toll on her and she was at her limit. Thankfully, she ran into Clive just at that breaking point. And year 848, at age 0, she was born in the northern continents, the chief of the area. Year 854, age 6, she became a ward of Rosaria after the war between Rosaria and the northern continent. Year 860, age 12, events of Phoenix Gate happens and the Iron Kingdom captures Jill. Year 861, age 13, Marley takes care of her while in the Iron Kingdom. When Shiva awakes within Jill, she's then assigned to carry out assassinations or ambushes while semi-primed, which is interesting. The Iron Kingdom wanted to keep the fact that they have a dominant under wraps, but it was eventually known that they harbored a female dominant. Year 873, age 25, she participates in the battle at the Nysa Defile by fighting Titan as Shiva. She is saved by Clive and taken to the hideaway. After healing, she, Clive, and Sid head to Drake's Head. Year 874 through 877, this is the time skip. She travels with Clive to various areas in the land to see what is going on within the world. Year 877, at age 30, all the in-game events happen. So it did give us a little bit information of what she did in the Iron Kingdom, but not a lot. Basically, we know that she was assigned to carry out assassinations or ambushes while semi-primed. I don't know how much she actually used full Shiva's powers, but the Iron Kingdom wanted to keep it on the down low that they have a dominant, but eventually it became known that they do. So, and that's Jill's profile. This whole part of the war between Rosaria and the Northern Continent is also present in Torgal's profile. So again, like, everything is connected. All right, let's go to Dion's. Ultimania spoilers from FF16 for Dion Lesage, and his profile is that he's age 28, post time skip, same age as Terrence. He wishes that his father would love him since he was a bastard child, and he was saddened to see Sylvester change after Annabella corrupted his thoughts, which didn't actually happen because Sylvester was always a piece of shit from the beginning. And I feel really bad for Dion because he thought that his dad was a good guy, but he never was. Terrence is his second in command who he trusts, and he is also his lover that he can confide in. Year 850, age 0. Sylvester's first child is born, whose real mother's identity is only known to a very few, as it was not his actual wife. Sylvester ordered Dion's birth mother to be killed to hide this fact. Year 851, age 1, it becomes known that Dion is the dominant of Bahamut. Year 857, age 7, started school along with his childhood friend Terrence. I forgot to write that it's monastery school, but Dion was a prodigy in both literature and military arts. Year 859, age 9, he attended a meeting of the Three Kingdoms, Rosaria, Dhalmekia, and Sembrek, known as the Remembrance Ceremony, and he met Joshua there for the first time, who is also age 9 years of age. Year 862, age 12, Terrence officially becomes his servant. A year 865, age 15, his father is appointed even higher as the Holy Emperor. Sylvester remarries Annabella, and Dion enlists into the Dragoons and participates in many wars. He soon becomes a very distinguished Dragoon known throughout the kingdom. Year 867, age 17, his half-brother Olivier is born, and he meets Hippocrates for the first time, and Hippocrates came from the outer continent to Sembrek. Year 868, age 18, he is awarded the title Holy Dragoon, but as a result, he is forced to step down as the Crown Prince. He sustains a grave injury while protecting Terrence. After Terrence confesses his love for him all these years, the two begin their relationship. And year 870, at age 20, he is appointed as the leader of the Holy Order of the Knights Dragoon. Hippocrates leaves the Holy Empire. Year 873, at age 23, he fights Odin at the Battle of Belenus Tor, and then year 878, age 28, the in-game events happen. He gets healed by Keel, fulfills his promise made to Joshua, and reunites with the Rossfield brothers. His dad, I don't really understand why he loved his dad so much, because his dad did not love him, which is very sad. So that's, Dion's profile. A lot of backstory that we did not know. Pretty much all of this here is new, except for the Hippocrates part. And then this age 18, where he became Holy Dragoon, stepped down as Crown Prince, and then also protected Terrence, started dating. This is all new. Like, all of this is new. So I don't know how much we're gonna get for like DLC, if there is any DLC of Dion's background, but I would like to see that. I would like to see how you know, he protected Terrence and how they started their relationship, because it's pretty cool that, you know, Square Enix even had a character like Dion who, you know, isn't just focused on his, you know, queerness, I guess, and he's just a normal character, and it would be, yeah, really cool to see it naturally happen. So if they did make any DLC of his background, that would be really interesting to see, in my opinion. Yeah, Olivier is basically, he was controlled by Ultima from birth and turned Akashic, which is like, yikes. Yikes, yeah. And Annabella is 52. I don't know how she looks like that. Kind of ridiculous. This is a picture of her at age 52, I believe. Insane. Profile for Terrence. FF16 Ultimania spoilers. FF16 Ultimania profile for Terrence and his timeline. So age 28, post time skip, he's the same age as Dion, and he served Dion since they were very young. He always adored Dion for his nobleness and beauty. He thought his feelings were unrequited for the longest time and was content with not being in a relationship with Dion. However, after he confessed to Dion, he accepted his feelings and brought the relationship further to those of lovers. He wanted to be Dion's support, especially since Dion's own family did not love him. That is really sad. I don't understand why Dion was so stuck on his dad loving him. His dad didn't even like him. At least Terrence could see through that. Year 850, age 0. Born into a family of minor nobles in the Holy Empire of Sembrek. Year 857, age 7, he enrolled in school with Dion. Year 862, age 12, he officially becomes Dion's squire. Year 865, age 15, he enlists in the Holy Order of the Knights Dragoon when Dion does as well. And in year 868, at age 18, Dion protected Terrence during a battle and was gravely injured. Terrence then confessed his love to Dion and the two became lovers. Year 870, age 20, Dion is appointed the leader of the Holy Order of the Knights Dragoons. At the same time, Terrence becomes second in command, which is interesting. Year 878, at age 28, he participates in the War of the Crystalline Dominion versus the Damekian Republic, witnesses the destruction of the Crystalline Dominion from Bahamut, and then leaves the battlefield to find Kiel at the behest of Dion. So also a lot of backstory about Terrence, that is, he's literally a really minor character, but at least we have more information about what he did when he was a kid, how he met Dion, how he, you know, fell in love with Dion, and what he did as a dragoon. So that's very interesting. This is, yeah, kind of just like really, I'll just quickly go over it. Basically, it just gives information about this Kingdom of Waloed. The interesting part of here is that Sleipnir was the king, Barnabas's close advisor, and holds the position of Lord Commander, and Waloed has an intelligencer group. The other interesting part is that there is technically, like, the religion in Waloed doesn't have official establishments like churches, but they still teach Circle of Malleus throughout the lands. And in the Balmung dungeons, bearers are used for sport for the magical beasts that are kept there, sometimes even as food. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. Sir Tyler, yeah, he's perhaps not dead. They said that they're not sure if he died or not. These are ages. When did I post Kiel? Let's see her. But for Kiel, it basically, her profile says that she has siblings, a brother that she was separated from, and she lived with her grandma, but she was an orphan because her parents were killed in a war, and then her grandma died of old age, and now she lives alone. Is there anything in the book about external influences like religious motifs? What do you mean about that, Colossus? Yeah, the other parts, there's a lot of characters that I go over in my Twitter, but I think before talking about them, we can go and talk about the history of Valisthea, because this is kind of like all based on the history of Valisthea. So sorry, I just like had to, I wrote it in my computer in my office, which is a Mac, but then I had to paste it into my PC and transfer it over, but the text is hideous. What's best? Maybe this one. Okay, can you guys see this? Let me zoom in. All right, maybe this is a little better. Holy shit. Okay, can you guys see this? Should be fine, right? Okay, so before I go over more characters, I want to go over basically the history of Valisthea. I only translated the bullet points, but within the bullet points is like a million lore, which I will not be translating all of that because it's just way too much. But the bullet points, I just added whatever I thought within that lore, the big paragraphs were interesting. I added it into the bullet points, so it's just like really easily digestible. But this is basically the entire timeline of the creation of Final Fantasy XVI's world and Valisthea, and what happens up until the point that Barnabas is born, because I have not translated the part of after Barnabas is born yet, but it's a shit ton of years still, so we can go over it together right now. I have not posted this on Twitter yet, and I don't know if anyone else has posted this, so it's a lot of interesting stuff. Really, really long, meaty, yeah, like picture of the history of Valisthea. So it's separated into different ages, and basically while translating this, it was almost like translating a history book. It was literally quite difficult to like make it sound like a textbook, but yeah, I try to make it sound like easy to read. So anyway, history of Valisthea history of Valisthea from FF16, the Age of Ultima. So 5,000 years or more prior to the events of what happens in FF16 with Clive. This is what happens in chronological order. So the first thing is that Ultima is born into this world. My assumption was that Ultima was an alien. But after reading this history of Valisthea, I don't think he's an alien anymore. I think he was perhaps born in Valisthea as the first life form, intelligent life form. Is Jade a reference to the Jade passage? I'm not sure, but we'll get there. So the first thing is Ultima is born into Valisthea, born into this world. And then after that, magic is created. It says that he discovered magic. And then with the magic he discovered, he made his civilization. So that's the rise of Ultima civilization. And then after that, because he was using magic, the blight appeared and spread across the world. And then Ultima runs to Valisthea. He discovers Valisthea, and then he devises a plan to cast rays that will kill all of mankind, but he can use Origin as an arc to go to somewhere else that maybe is not covered by the blight. So this is all more than 5,000 years ago. He devises the plan to cast rays, and then after he makes the plan, he creates mother crystals and places them across the land. And then after the mother crystals are created, he creates man to protect the mother crystals. And then this interesting part that is definitely new, I'm sure, is that he establishes this thing called Jade. And Jade is a portal that's located at the bottom or at the foot of the Zemeckis crystal that connects to Origin. And the Zemeckis mother crystal's heart is in Origin. So the Zemeckis tragedy that happened where Ultima destroyed the mother crystal, it is unclear if he actually destroyed the mother crystal's heart, but he did destroy the big mother crystal, which was the Zemeckis mother crystal. After that, Ultimalius enters a state of slumber. Ultimalius is the king of Ultima, the Ultimas, if you will. He is the leader of Ultimas, and so he placed Ultimas in all of the mother crystals to protect them. And then after that, he was like, all right, peace, I'm gonna sleep now. Because he knew that he needed to sleep for a millennia or more in order to eventually cast rays. And somewhere here it did mention about like his plan for Muthos, and I'll add that later, but it was already derived sometime thousands of years ago with this whole Muthos and rays and Origin and everything. That was called the Age of Ultima. So after Age of Ultima, while Ultimalius was sleeping, the age of primitive man happened. This was around 4,000 years ago, and the protectors were born. So let me just double check this, but I'm pretty sure that the protectors were born after Ultimalius went to sleep. Yes. So after Ultimalius went to sleep, the protectors, it's called Mamorihito. I don't know if there's an actual lore entry for them in Hippocrates, but I call them the protectors. So they were basically those that Ultima assigned to take care of the mother crystals, and they became, like, I guess they self-proclaimed themselves to be the protectors. And then after the protectors formed, man developed a will of his own. So this is all while Ultima is sleeping, by the way. So after man developed a will, it led to the Age of Sorcery, which is 3,500 years prior. So then man starts using magic. After they started using magic from 3,000 years prior, the Fallen are created. So man develops a will, some uses magic, and then the Fallen are created. But the Fallen don't actually use magic from what I remember in Hippocrates, but they use magic to create like airships, and they basically live in the air, in the sky. And they have super advanced technology. They're like, they're like chilling, they're making great advances in all of the civilizations and shit. And then from 3,000 years to 1,500 years prior, within this time, summoners are born. So summoners are people who could use really strong magic. And these people are not, I'm not sure if they're the same as the Fallen. It doesn't really clarify if they're actually, if the summoners are the Fallen as well, or if they're separate. But in either case, there's a type of people called summoners. The Magitech and Iconoclast, I did not read that in the Fallen's lore, but if you can let me know what Iconoclast is translated to in Japanese, I can look for it. Because the Fallen's lore was just saying that like there were a civilization in the sky that was created because man developed a will, and they used the magic ether to power their like airships, and basically like that's how they were able to advance their civilization so much. And then after, so from 3,000 years to 1,500 years prior, like all of this happened. So like summoners were born, they're able to use super strong magic, people established nations, and then the Circle of Malleus religion is formed during this time. 1,500 years prior, the Great War of Magic happens. I don't know what the hell this is. I've never seen an entry about the Great War of Magic. It could also be called the Great War, Sorcery War. I have no idea like what this is, but in this Ultimania book, it says that it was a basically people were able to use the War of the Magi. Oh, is it in the game? Okay, so I don't remember this entry at all. Like, okay, can you let me know what it was about? Because basically, yeah, 1,500 years prior, War of the Magi, I suppose, happens, and then the Blight appears on Valisthea for the first time. After that, the tragedy of Zemeckis occurs, and the tragedy of Zemeckis is, like, you know, in Hippocrates, basically, the people of Zemeckis, the motes of darkness, were surrounding and protecting the Zemeckis crystal at Zemeckis Falls. But then the Fallen wanted to take the mother crystal for themselves, and because they were fighting and tried to be greedy and take Zemeckis crystal, the Ultima that was in Zemeckis crystal got mad and basically destroyed all of the Fallen. So after that, the entire Fallen was wiped out. The motes of darkness left Valisthea and went to the outer continents, and then this leads to the age of the new people. So 1,300 years prior, civilization, because Ultima destroyed pretty much everyone, they degrade back to almost primitive times. So the things that were actually still existing after Ultima destroyed the Fallen was that the teachings of the salvation that Ultima would bring salvation to the people stayed with the people of Zemeckis. So that concept had always been present in the people of Zemeckis, even after most of the civilization was wiped out, or not wiped out, but like Fallen was wiped out, but the rest of civilization went back to primitive times because Ultima was like, what the fuck, like these people are way too smart right now, so I'm gonna kill all of the Fallen. He killed all of the Fallen, and then he made all of that advanced technology disappear, basically. So then civilization went back to kind of primitive times. And then even though they went back to primitive times, they still formed nations around the mother crystals, and they kind of the protectors, if you will, made their nation based on like whatever aspect of mother crystal they were at. This was 1,300 years prior. Are the Fallen not human? They are human. The Fallen are humans that gained a will. So after that, 1,000 years prior, religions are flourishing because people are in desperate times right now. They used to have so much technology, and then now they have nothing, so they have to believe in something. So religions formed, such as Gregor for Sambrek. The Crystal Orthodox is another one, and Circle of Malleus is another one as well. So religion started to form 1,000 years prior. And then 950 years prior, bearers are made known. So the concept of the summoners in the beginning, who are able to wield strong magic, kind of trickled down to 950 years prior, where the bearers are now known to be people who can use magic. And for some reason, the bearers started to become oppressed during this time. And the oppressed bearers start an uprising, but it doesn't work. So that leads to the age of the continental calendar. So year one, which is about 870 years prior, a continental treaty is made. Is this also in Hippocrates? Because I don't think I read it if there was. But basically, like, there was the people of the lands who form nations around the crystals. They're still fighting each other, basically fighting each other for forever. And then the continental treaty was made that was saying like, hey, like, let's not fight. Let's just all be in our own nation, and just take resources from our mother crystal, and let's make Gil, and let's start trading. So that Gale happened. Continental Treaty made fighting stop for a bit, but the bearers were then still oppressed, and they were marked and enslaved. And so this is when oppression of bearers started happening 870 years prior to what happens in FF16. And then in the year 100, about 770 years prior, dominants are born within bearers, within people who can wield magic. Nations start to defend the dominants because they think that they're super strong, and they use them for war. Year 150, about 720 years prior, the Continental Treaty is abolished. So what that means is that war happens again. So the nations that gained military strength due to dominance went to war with each other over the resources of ether. The Continental Treaty was established to call for peace among the lands, but because it was abolished, the treatment of bearers remained the same. So even though the Continental Treaty was created to make peace in the land, bearers still were treated like shit. Even after the Continental Treaty was abolished, doesn't matter. Bearers were still treated as shit, but the dominants at least were treated as basically almost gods. And then this leads to the age of the new kingdoms. So year 170, about 700 years prior, there are smaller countries that establish in various regions across the lands, not just around the mother crystals, but just in general. Year 200, about 670 years prior, the Holy Empire of Sambrek's predecessors is established. Year 210, about 660 years prior, the Republic of Dalmacia's predecessor is established. Year 220, about 650 years prior, the Temple of the Crystal Orthodox Church is established. Year 250, about 620 years prior, the Kingdom of Rosaria's predecessor is established. And from years 170 to 250, a small country forms around Drake's Eye on the continent of Storm, and Shiva's dominant is born. Small countries fight over Drake's Spine in Waloed. The owners of that mother crystal, Drake's Spine is in Waloed. Yeah, the owner of the mother crystals constantly changes. Drake's Horn is also sought after between the modes of water and the beast tribes on the continent of Ash, it's not Waloed yet, it's just the continent of Ash. Saga, I will have the VOD up on YouTube, so no worries if you missed any of this. Year 300, about 570 years prior, the Blight touches down on the continent of Ash. Year 350, about 520 years prior, Drake's Horn at Southern Ash is destroyed. So, the modes of water and the beast tribes were always like neck to neck, trying to gain the control of Drake's Horn, which is the water aspected mother crystal of Waloed, which presumably is where Leviathan dominant is from. This was destroyed 520 years prior to the events of FF16. So whether or not Leviathan's dominant line still exists right now, we don't know. Year 400, about 470 years prior, there are fights over Drake's Spine that intensify following the destruction of Drake's Horn. So Drake's Spine had a bunch of little kingdoms or countries. This is like way before Barnabas was alive or born, but they still had a lot of conflict on Ash to gain control over Drake's Spine. And then since Drake's Horn was demolished, especially, people wanted to get Drake's Spine as their resource instead. Year 450, about 420 years prior, the Northern Continent's country is established. So that's actually becomes its own little country. The Iron Kingdom's predecessor is established, and the Kingdom of Veldemark is established. So we can assume that Veldemark won the disputes at Drake's Spine because they are literally the country that's next to Drake's Spine. Year 500, about 370 years prior, the Republic of Dalmacia is officially established. No longer the predecessor, but Dalmacia is officially established. And year 550, about 320 years prior, the Rose Alliance is formed. This one I'm actually not sure about because it's I don't know if it's in the Hippocrates or in Rosaria's lore, but basically the Rose alliance was like included the people who had the dominant line for Phoenix. Is it called Rosaria's Seven Noble Houses? I'm not sure, because it was formed before the Kingdom of Rosaria was established. But Japanese translates to Rose Alliance, so I was just like, I'm not sure what it is. If it is the seven noble houses, I guess that makes sense, because it did mention that the dominant line, bloodline, is part of it. Ah, yes. Drinking my water. Hold up. So, going back to this, year 600, about 270 years prior, Kingdom of Rosaria is officially established. And then the Rose Alliance, again, I'm not sure if that's actually related, like, to the seven noble houses. Is what is that? The seven noble houses? Is it called just the Rosaria Seven Noble Houses? Yeah, I have to look this up, because I don't remember seeing this in my Hippocrates, so probably didn't read it if it was there. So yeah, Kingdom of Rosaria is officially established year 700, about 170 years prior. The Holy Empire of Sembrek is officially established year 750, about 120 years prior. The Blight spreads through the continent of Storm. Year 790, about 80 years prior, Drake's Eye is destroyed on Storm. That's the Mother Crystal in the Northern Territories. And then the Northern Territories try to invade Rosaria because their Mother Crystal was destroyed. And then Phoenix fights Shiva in a great war. This is another interesting part where yeah, they didn't really talk about this that much, because yeah, Phoenix and Shiva fight in a big war between Northern Territories and Rosaria. And then during this, though, Northern Territories has fights break in within themselves, and then this causes them to retreat. And then the Iron Kingdom is established officially at this time, and then the Crystalline Dominion's predecessor is also established. Grandpa Rossfield versus the Ice Queen. I guess so, since it's 80 years prior. Yeah, I guess it would be like their ancestors fighting Shiva, which is super cool. This would be awesome if this was, like, you know, in the game. And then after that, Crystalline Dominion's predecessor is established, and Barnabas Tharm is born in the same year, or around the same year. And that's where I kind of left off. The present age is interesting, because there is this guy that the Iron Kingdom calls Ishtar, who was dispatched as a spy to the Crystalline Dominion to basically, like, espionage at the Crystalline Dominion. But was this character named Ishtar in the lore? Because I don't recall reading anyone about that, anyone with that name, Ishtar. And so the present age that I haven't finished translating yet has a lot of entries about this Ishtar guy. I mean, it could be a girl, I don't know. It just says this person's name is Ishtar. No mention of Ishtar. Interesting. Yeah, because it does talk about this one person specifically coming from the Iron Kingdom as a spy to the Crystalline Dominion. So when I was reading that, I was like, what is this story? Like, what am I reading right now? So I thought it might have been something I missed in Hippocrates, but maybe not. It's Leviathan? I mean, it could be. It's 53 years prior. I mean, I honestly have no idea, because it's from the Iron Kingdom, though, so. But yeah, so this was extremely yeah, rich history. Literally, when I was reading this, I'm like, this is pretty much like I'm reading a history book. It was very interesting details. And I still have the present age to make to post, translate it before I post, but I'll probably post this tomorrow after I finish translating the present age part, because yeah, this is very interesting lore that I think people who like to do theory crafting would definitely want to know. We don't know, actually we know the names of every mother crystal. It's Drake's, the Zemeckis crystal is called the Crystal of Zemeckis. Let me tell you guys the names. Hold on. Okay, so Drake's eye is the crystal aspect. Drake's eye is the ice aspect. Drake's head is light. Drake's spine is thunder. Drake's tail is wind. Drake's horn is water. Drake's fang is earth. Drake's breath is fire. And the crystal of darkness, the mother crystal of darkness, is called Zemeckis. There's no Drake name for Zemeckis. It's just called Zemeckis. And yeah, the crystals are all in the game as well. The crystal names, at least. There is a crystal for wind. The wind one was called Drake's head, I believe. Oh, sorry. Drake's head was the light. Crystal of wind is called Drake's tail. The crystal of darkness is in Valisthea. It is where the next falls is. Hey, Tiny Pinecone, thanks for joining us. The wind is in the crystalline dominion, yes. But the interesting thing about the Zemeckis crystal is that the heart for the Zemeckis crystal is on origin. It is not in the crystal itself. But another interesting aspect of the Zemeckis crystal is that there was a pathway called Jade that connected the crystal to origin, and that's how the ether flowed to origin. I don't know what the symbolism is, or if it's a reference to another Final Fantasy. You guys said it was like FF2. The Dark Crystal, the moats of darkness surrounded the Zemeckis crystal that was located at Zemeckis Falls. So because the fallen civilization wanted to fight the moats of darkness to take over Zemeckis crystal, Ultima got mad and destroyed the entire civilization of the fallen because of that. And after he destroyed the civilization of the fallen, man basically reverted to primitive times where they had no technology. There was nothing that was like everything that the fallen created while Ultima was slumbering basically was destroyed, and man only had magic and the basic resources to live. So that's why they then formed nations based on the crystals to eventually build kingdoms, and basically the entire world of Valisthea, or sorry, the world of wherever the world is called, and the continent of Valisthea was always in some kind of war. Always. Yeah, the blight happened because Ultima started using magic and draining the earth of its resources. Hey Fire Squall, thanks for joining us. We just went over a very long history of Valisthea. Very interesting though. Okay, so now a lot of these character stuff you can just read on my Twitter. like for Gav, Annabella, Yote, Wade, and Tyler. I haven't posted Wade's yet in the timeline for his timeline. I mean, but yeah, Sleipnir being with Barnabas for 52 years, Barnabas being 70 years old, Sleipnir being 52. Elwyn is 42, I think. Let me double check. Pretty sure he's 42. Yeah, 42 years old. Keel, and then this one is my Hiro talking about Jill thinking that Clive's a liar, so when Clive says, "I'll be back, I promise," she was like, "But you're lying." That's why she took a while to respond, which is really sad. Yeah, Elwyn is 42 and Barnabas is 42. Like, you know, like they hot, right? I mean, I know Barnabas is 70, so we're gonna ignore that fact, but in physical appearance, he's 42. So anyway, I'm gonna go through these questions that you guys had and see if any of them are actually in the book. So Mark has a question that says, any juicy tidbits about the Fallen? I'm especially curious about the iconoclasters. How powerful were they? What is their relationship with the icons themselves? Are there any that are still around? I did not read anything about the iconoclasters. But the Fallen, I did mention it just now. Basically, they were a civilization that happened after Ultimalius went to sleep. So before Ultimalius went to sleep, he gave man two things. He left magic, and he also left the teachings that Ultima will bring humanity salvation. And the people of the Mex carried that belief after Ultima went to sleep, went into hibernation. So he wanted to make sure that, yeah, that idea of Ultima will bring man salvation was going to always be present throughout civilization. And it did carry on for pretty much the entire history, even, until Barnabas was born. So for the Fallen, though, they are men who gained wills and used magic to create things such as like airships, and powered their civilization to exist in the sky. And they got greedy and wanted to get the mother crystal of the Zemex, and because they had a war or like a big battle with the Zemex people who were protecting the Mother Crystal, the Ultima within the Zemex Mother Crystal got mad, destroyed the Fallen, and then reverted mankind back to a primitive state with no technology. Nuts is asking, I was wondering why the Wings of Promise is meaningful. I get that Benny adored Sid, but I can't believe there's no more backstory to it. There's unfortunately no backstory to it. We just know that the Wings of Promise was very special to Benedicta and given to her from Sid. Maybe DLC will explain that. Is there anything on Lady Marley? Oh yeah. I'll post Lady Marley's profile, or this is actually not. So there are, I guess that the NPCs that are important, their profile has a timeline. The other ones that are not so important, they have no timeline. They just have a little blurb. And that's quite a lot of them. And Marley is part of that group of people with no timeline. Let me see. Where is her thingy? Marley. How old is Sylvester? I can tell you right now. He is 52 after the time skip. Oh, okay, Marley does have a timeline, so I'll probably post hers later. She was actually born in the coastline of Rosaria. Interesting. I actually haven't read Marley's yet. She's 41, post time skip. And yeah, she was captured and brought to the Iron Kingdom. And then she raised Jill as pretty much like her daughter. And then in the year 877, at age 41, she was able to escape Drake's breath and the Iron Kingdom successfully. So at least she escaped. At least we know that she's hopefully alive. Yeah, Sylvester is 52, but you know who else is 52? Sleipnir. Which doesn't make any sense. I mean, Sleipnir is, you know, also like not really human, so anyway, what exactly are the outer continents, and do people still live there? Is Valisthea the only realm that's habitable? Is the Orc tribe intelligent, or were they mindless since their existence? I'm not sure if the Orc tribe was intelligent or not, because the book does say that the Drake's Horn, the conflict between the moats of water and the Beast tribes, existed because they were fighting over the resources from Drake's Horn, which is the water mother crystal. So it's possible that the Orc tribe is intelligent. What exactly are the outer continents? I don't really know. It's just continents that exist outside of Valisthea. But the continents are also affected with the blight, so I don't know, like, so basically the first mention we have of the outer continents in the history of Valisthea is from the entry where it says the mechs after the fall of the Fallen, pun intended, I guess. The Zemeckis people went to the outer continent to live. So I don't know if all the people who live in the outer continent are from, or originally are Zemeckis, the Zemeckis people, or if there are people living in the outer continents before the Zemeckis people. But I think it's the former, where the Zemeckis people moved to the outer continents and then they became like their own civilization. Oh, I just thought of something. Like, if everyone from the outer continents are originally Zemeckis, then like Karen, Mid, Sid, who else? Who else was from the outer continents besides Barnabas? Hold on, there's like a entry here. Let me find it. Sid, Mid, Karen, Hippocrates, and Barnabas are all from the outer continents. I wonder if that means that, I mean, given the assumption that everyone who went to the outer continents and became a civilization are Zemeckis, that means that Sid, Mid, Karen, and Hippocrates are all Zemeckis, Zemeckian, Zemeckis origin. That's interesting. Did they have anything on semi-priming? Not really. They do talk about like priming in general. It's just like, and also when the dominant goes berserk, that's when their eyes are yellow. When they're not berserk, their eyes are blue. It doesn't really have much about semi-priming. Is there anything about Tiamat or the other members of the Bastards? Yes, there's a small little profile for Tiamat. Very small though. Let me find it. He doesn't have a timeline, but it just says that he is a bearer and was joined the like assassination division, and he's the leader. And the people who work under him is Bias, Avis, and Weavern. But then during a mission, the Weavern betrayed him, when he realized that it was Jill. So the Weavern meaning Clive. And that's the only thing about Tiamat. He's 38 years old, and he's from Sembrek. Torgal has his own profile. I posted that one on my Twitter, so you can find his profile there. Did I post that Zemeckis helped establish trade in the other continents at some point? Oh, yes, indeed. So the Zemeckis did create trade routes and travel paths from Valisthea to the outer continents. So then that makes actually even more sense than that the people of Zemeckis were the people who lived in the outer continent. So anyone who was from the outer continent is originally from bloodline is Zemeckis related, I guess. Another person asking about Tiamat, but there's nothing besides just him being a commander of the assassination division. Is there anything on whether Dion survived? Is there anything on what happened to Clive after Phoenix Gate, but before he reunites with Jill? There's nothing about whether Dion survived or not. For Clive, there's like a really long period of no information. Let me see. Yeah, from year 860, when he's age 15, after the events of Phoenix Gate, up until year 873, which he's 28 at that time, there is no information. There's nothing. There's no entry. So 13 years is left blank for Clive. So I guess if they wanted to do more DLC, they could go with that. But I don't know how interesting that would be because he has no dominant powers at that time. Definitely curious about the Executors, Shimmering Island, and the Great Continent, if there's any. Unfortunately, there is no information about the Executors at all. I don't think I missed it, but as far as I know, there is nothing about the Executors. Which is interesting. Nothing about the Shimmering Island and the Great Continent. I don't know what that one is. Is that the Outer Continent? Are there any ending clarifications? Nope, nothing set in stone for the ending. Will this Ultimania have an official English translation? I have no idea. I see that question a lot in the comments that I've posted on my for my various tweets. I don't think they will because they haven't even translated the Japanese version of the FF7 remake Ultimania. They translated the Materia Ultimania, but not the original Ultimania, so I don't think there will be. But CBU3 does translate all of the encyclopedias for FF14, so maybe eventually they'll release a official translation for the FF16 Ultimania. There's just so much information though. It will take so long to translate everything. Any speculation on what Ether is? I think it's just the life stream of the life force. Yeah, exactly, of the world. Does the Ultimania ever say how old Clive and Joshua were when Clive was given the Phoenix Blessing? I think it was just when he became a shield, right? Let's see. Oh, he was 10. Joshua was 10, and Clive was 15. Yeah, he received this Phoenix Blessing after he won a duel or a match, and he was one of the youngest to win this at this age of 15, and then he received Joshua's blessing at that time, same age where Phoenix Gate happens. Did the Ultima in Joshua's chest matter? No, it did not, because he only sealed one of the Ultimas away. So I think that's the point, to show how pointless it was, because not only was his body suffering from Ultima, but he was also being petrified. So it just kind of shows how tragic all characters' arcs were, which sucks because I kind of want a little happy ending, right? But anything about character heights? No, unfortunately they did not have anything about character heights. Anything new about Clive? I didn't really see too much new stuff about Clive. It was more like things that we already know. The new stuff was all about the other characters. Some questions. Anything on Ultima's race and interdimensional rift? I have not read anything about the interdimensional rift, but for Ultima, I did explain earlier in the stream all of the different Ultima lore. How do some of the Ultimas turn into Mother Crystals if they have no physical form? The Mother Crystal itself is not Ultima. Ultima is the heart of the Mother Crystal, or like Ultima's conscience exists within the heart of the Mother Crystal. That's what the Mother Crystal entry in the Ultimania explains about. So when they destroy the heart actually screams because it's also destroying Ultima. But like it kind of, I don't really remember what was the point of destroying the Mother Crystals, because the Ultimas still eventually go to Ultima at the end of the game. So like everything was pointless, was it not? Does it mention why Joshua doesn't like carrots? I hate carrots. But I did not come across any lore that explains about the carrots. Is there any explanation as to why the crystal's curse exists, why people turn to stone? Let me see. There was an entry about people turning to stone, but I don't know if it said like why. Oh, Tolasis, thank you so much again for the 100 bits. You were too kind, thank you. Let's see, turning to stone. Okay, there's a whole entry here. Oh, interesting. It doesn't explain why people turn to stone, like what's the reason, but it just said that like if you use magic, you are more susceptible to speed up the stone, the petrification. But Clive, because he's Muthos, even though he uses magic, it's very slow for him to turn into stone. So he actually almost is not affected because he has the blessing, or like because he's the vessel to become Muthos. So if you use a crystal instead of using your own magic, the crystal bears the burden, I guess, of drawing the ether. So you don't harm your body. So that's why Sid, when he uses a crystal to light his cigarettes, it doesn't harm him. But yeah, for Clive, just because he's Muthos, he doesn't really get affected that much either. Let's see. Have there been more info, potentially what happens to the three characters? It is unfortunately left open-ended. What about Martha? I did read about Martha, but she doesn't have a timeline. It just says that she's from Rosaria. She's 37 years old, and she has been helping bearers from a very young age. When she was helping a bearer, she also, at the same time, met Sid, and then they began to work together. Anything about the Bastards and Clive's time with them? Unfortunately, nothing about the Bastards except for Tiamat being the commander of the assassination division. Did we get mundane info like days of the week and months of the year? We got the alphabet, but nothing about the days of the week or the year or how it's calculated. Is there a mention of icon sizes? No, they don't have anything about their sizes. If there's wondering if there's any info on his pendant, unfortunately no other lore aside from Benedicta took care of it, or Benedicta treasured it very much, and Sid gave it to her. In Mayahito's interview, when he talks about Clive eradicating Ultima's magic, did he mention the petrification curse at all? Eradicating the magic. Let me see. kind of vaguely remember him talking about it or reading about that. Let me see. Oh, it just says that in the ending, Clive uses the magic and then destroy or makes everything that Ultima created, whether it be bearers or dominance, magic or crystals, or even petrification itself. He made it go away. Clive made it go away, and then he reverted the world back to one that has none of that. Huh. I wonder if that specific line that it says, like, even petrification, I wonder if he said that as a hint, like, you know, Clive also stopped petrification, so you know what that means. Maybe he didn't die or turn to stone. Interesting. But that's yeah, what he did mention about the petrification. Is there any more information about Typhus? I'm guessing they mean Typhon. I didn't see anything about Typhon. Was it a Magitech weapon like the Fallen? Yeah, I didn't see any info about Typhon. I don't know. I still think that Clive could have survived. Ultima and Genova, I do not think they're the same race. Does it mention if Ultima is from another planet? So I think he's actually from this world, and he's not an alien. Does the Ultimania book contain any information on Moss the Chronicler? I haven't heard much info about him. The only time I personally came across Moss the Chronicler was when it mentioned it in Joshua's timeline that said that Joshua read the entries from Moss the Chronicler as he was exploring the lands and trying to figure out clues about Ultima. I'm curious on these. Why was Clive naked in the cell? That is not in this book. Why was Barnabas naked in the bed chamber talking to Ultima? That is also not in this book. I think you can kind of infer from the context, though, of why that happened. It's because, well, I mean, for Barnabas' scene, in that specific scene, I think it's to show his vulnerability. But for why Clive was naked, I guess they just wanted to make sure that he doesn't harm himself or harm others, since he's technically Ifrit. But yeah, that's not in the book. I think there's a couple more questions here. Do they explain the many Ifrits at origin? So yeah, Dark Ifrit is Ultima's original body, technically, and then Ultima casted off his Dark Ifrit form and then became a spiritual, like, kind of presence, like a spirit. So that weird fisheye Ultima that you see is his, like, spirit self. Is there anything about Cyril? There's actually not much about Cyril. It doesn't even show his actual year or age. He's just in his 30s, and he is the one who tells the Undying what to do. He's kind of like the leader. I'm not sure about this NPC's dialogue about with that magic without a catalyst. Yeah, I don't think they talked about that. I think those are all the questions. Let's see, is there one more? Oh, Theodore. Let's see, Theodore. Where is Theodore from? Dalmatia? Oh yeah, here we go. Eloise and Theodore. They're both from Canver, the Free Cities of Canver, and says that Theodore is 25 and Eloise is 28. Theodore. Let me see. Let me just read this really quick. he was born into a like rather rich, a noble family, I guess, a rich family, or well, not rich, wealthy family. And then when he was 15 years old, they found out that he was a bearer. But then Eloise took him and they fled their home. And then they set up their residence in, what is this place? Where do they? It's called the Red. What is the official establishment called? Like in Japanese, is like the Red, like store front or something. And then he greatly values his sister, because his sister was pretty much like the one who saved him, because they ran away together when they found out that he was a bearer. And then for Eloise, it says that she constantly tries to protect bearers, so that's why she started working with Clive as well. Oh, Crimson Caravans. Okay, sounds way better than like Red Storefront. Awesome. So yeah, that's pretty much the only lore about Theodore. Just that he turned in, or he was a bearer at age 15, and he and Eloise ran away from their wealthy home to set up the Red Caravans. I think those are all the questions I got on Twitter. I guess I can spend another like maybe 10-15 minutes answering you guys' questions as well. I think we covered quite a lot of content today. The history of Valisthea was the most interesting part, I think, to give a better, like, I understand why the section that has the history of Valisthea was at the end of the book, because after you read all of the characters' profiles and then you get to the end of the book, it's like, it kind of makes it more, you understand the context a little bit better. Does Elwyn have his own profile? He does. He has his own profile and his own timeline, and I'll probably translate that this week as well. Lubor's profile, I already posted that yesterday. You can see it here. Oh yeah, here. So the interesting thing about Lubor is that Rosina Dalamil was actually a real person, and she was an old woman that he tried to pickpocket, but then he got caught, and then she took him in and raised him and made him a apprentice at the Briar's Kiss. 90s Wolf, thank you so much for the translations. Yeah, no problem. It was really fun to actually do this to get a better understanding for myself as well about the story. Oh, thank you so much, BMAC. You're too kind. But yeah, so Lubor then was raised by Rosina, but then in year 873, soldiers broke into the Briar's Kiss, where he was apprenticing for money, and killed Rosina, which is really sad. And then after that, he vowed to avenge her and join Sid in his cause. So that's why he uses the name Rosina Dalamil when he's like doing his little whatever missions or whatever. But he is 19 years old. And then yeah, the Valisthean alphabet was posted in the book as well. But yeah, that's, I guess, pretty much all of the lore I have come across thus far. There's way more that I'll be consistently just posting throughout the week whenever I have time. And this whole lore about the history of Valisthea, I will post this tomorrow after I finish the present age part. This was freaking long, only because I was like trying to figure out what was important and what was not important to put in these bullet points, because I pretty much initially just translated the most important bullet point, and then after that I was like, oh, but then this is kind of important too, so I'll put it in. And I was like, oh, but this is also kind of important, so like some of these are not actual titles of the history, it's kind of like I combined them together, so it gives a better idea. But the lore from the history is super complex and super well thought out. I just wish that we see or saw more of it in the game. But hopefully the DLC will delve into at least Waloed. I think there's a lot of interesting information of Waloed that was left out that could have been in the game. I think it should have been in the game. But maybe the whole reason is because they wanted to be there for DLC. wanted 5,000 years of history. I mean, at least like some scenes in the game that could have, you know, like left a better impact. I don't know. But yeah, the Leviathan Circle of Malleus art over here is always so fantastic. But yeah, do you guys have any questions aside from what we already went through? You can always post on my Twitter posts if you have any questions, and I can try to answer them as well. Clive does mention that Labor would have been just a boy. Oh yeah, I don't know why my Twitter command doesn't work, but thank you, James. Anything new about Mid? I posted a profile about Mid, but basically, yeah, she was abandoned in a forest when she was a child, when she was a baby, and Sid took her in and raised her in Waloed, and Mid is originally from the Outer Continents. There's just certain plot holes I'd love to have answered, mostly Leviathan, but even if we don't get answers, I'd love the game. Yeah, I mean, I think that anything like more than what we got is kind of like, I mean, I would have liked it to be in the game originally, but if they're gonna add that into DLC, or, you know, just to give us a better idea of what is, you know, what the lore, the world building is like, then I guess that's fine. But like, I personally would love a whole DLC in Waloed for obvious reasons. But yeah, I don't know, maybe Leviathans will give us more backstory of Barnabas and Sleipnir and Benedicta and Sid, and see how much of the Ultimania is actually in the DLC. Oh, thank you so much, James. Thank you. Yeah, I guess, I mean, I don't know if it would be called plot hole per se, because everything was pretty much explained. Well, like the story of FF16 was pretty much self-contained. These are just parts that like add more, like kind of supplement the story. But I wish that they were in the game though. Like, I personally wish it was in the game, but maybe, you know, they're saving it for DLC or a book or something like that, you know. Yeah, it's mostly just like supplemental extra tidbits in my opinion. But yeah, for the ending though, all of the like, you know, questions that most people have is, did they survive? Did Clive, Joshua, and Dion survive? And the answer is, it's up to you to decide, which is frustrating, but that's what my hero said, basically. It's up to interpretation. Oh, hey, Stoic. We're spoiler, like, totally talking about a ton of spoilers right now, so that's totally fine. But yeah. What do you guys think about the history of Valisthea, though? Because that was like a big part that I was like, damn, this is interesting. King's Fall? Where is King's Fall? is true. The TLDR is basically Ultima's a little bitch. No, the thing that's really funny when I was reading the history was that Ultima was sleeping this whole time and all of this other shit was happening, and then when he woke up he was like, what the fuck? He's like that meme. I don't remember the name of the drama series, but you know, it's like this guy holding pizza and he walks into a room and everything is on fire. It's basically like the guy holding the pizza is Ultima, and he's like, yo, what's happening to my world? But yeah, Barnabas is indeed 70 years old, and physically though 42. Ah yes, community, yes, thank you. Right. Stoic, did Ultima already absorb Leviathan based on the water crystal's destruction? Or maybe some people were saying that Leviathan couldn't awaken because the crystal was destroyed. I personally think that Leviathan is lost because the water crystal was destroyed like hundreds of years ago. And perhaps the dominant bloodline was destroyed as well, because the water moats, or the moats of water, the people of the water crystal were fighting, constantly fighting with the people, other beast tribes in the region. And then when the water crystal fell or was destroyed, then the people of Waloed, well, not Waloed at the time, Ash continent, went to the north where Drake's spine was, and then fought over Drake's spine, which is the crystal of thunder. And then in the end, Veldemark kingdom was the one who took over Drake's spine. But then after Barnabas was born, when he was like 30 or something like that, he and Sleipnir pretty much just annihilated the entire kingdom of Veldemark in one night. And then Barnabas established the kingdom of Waloed, and then appointed Sleipnir as his lord commander around the same time. So that's what the lore is about the Ash continent. So I don't know if Leviathan's bloodline is still existed at that time, or if they're going to have a DLC that explains like how maybe Barnabas and Sleipnir killed the last Leviathan dominant bloodline or something. I didn't get the fact that many Sleipnirs existed because I thought there would only be one. So Sleipnir is immortal. He is a magical being, and he can create multiples of himself, but they all derive from the one Sleipnir. It's not like there's like a million Sleipnir that exists. He can control and he can create multiples of himself that exist at the same time, but it doesn't mean that like they're all like their own individual person. I think they all derive from one Sleipnir. It doesn't really specify in the book, but it just says that Sleipnir has the ability to make multiples of himself that exist at the same time and function and can, you know, do their own thing at the same time. Sorry, I was just reading what you guys said. The whole reason Clive was enslaved was that he was afraid to desert. Oh, you're talking about the plot holes. I see. I mean, I think that like a lot of the side quests that were really random ass fetch quests could have been sacrificed to give more screen time to actual character building, for us to be more connected to the characters instead of random ass NPCs that I don't even remember their names. So that's kind of one aspect that I wish they did. Random fights aren't really story. Oh yeah, like about the hunts, they let's see, where is it? They did talk about how they wanted to put lore into the hunts. Where is it? This one here. So for example, this one, the Night of the Splendid Heart, they specifically wrote lore that happens after Dion disappears and after he destroys the Crystalline Dominion, because the Knight of the Splendid Heart thought that Clive was the one who tricked Dion to do that. So that's why he was on a quest for revenge against Clive. So they mentioned that they wanted to add lore for some of the hunts, so that it makes sense when you're progressing through the story and you run into this. So kind of like when you run into the Benedicta's Eggy in Waloed, like perhaps that's where she's actually from. That's that little town that you see her Eggy there. That basically looks like Benedicta as well. So it's very interesting. Yeah, he was just waiting for Clive to pop up. He's branded. He has nowhere to run to until Sid offers him a place in his hideaway. Eggy is magical, like a magical being. So in Japanese, it's called Mahosebutsu, which basically means a magical being. But in English, they use the word Eggy as a specific thing to refer to a dominant creating a basically like a minion that helps serve them. But in Japanese, the Mahosebutsu is used for many different things in the game, not just Eggy. So that's why I was wondering, like, is Sleipnir technically not an Eggy? Because he could be a magical being, because in the Ultimania book, they use the word magical being for like just regular beasts that you encounter throughout the world. So it could be like a localization thing. I think it's pronounced Eggy because that's how Joshua pronounced it. But yeah, I do think that there are some, well, I don't know if it, I guess you could call them plot holes, but like things that are not completely explained but was explained in the book. Like if it required the book to explain something that happened on screen, then I feel like that should have been in the game. You know what I mean? Like a lot of the Ultimania, I was reading it and I was like, damn, why wasn't this in the game? But doesn't exactly mean that, you know, it was a plot hole, but maybe it was not in the game because they want to make DLC or something like that, which these days, which game doesn't have DLC, right? But in either case, I'm very excited for the 2 DLCs that will be coming out, and before that though, hopefully we get information about FF7 Rebirth, because I'm still on the FF7 Ever Crisis wave right now. I was like, oh, I really want to play it again, but I'm doing it on stream, so I will probably be playing it later this week on stream with you guys. Anyway, guys, I think I will probably finish the stream here. I hope you enjoyed listening to me talking about the FF16 Ultimania for almost 3 hours. And there's still so much I didn't cover, which is all on my Twitter. You guys can go check it out and read through all of the different lore pieces. But I can say for sure that after reading all of these Ultimania lore entries and pages, that I have a way better understanding of the game. super better understanding of the game. And the lore, that like the world building is crazy. It's basically like reading the history part is almost like reading a historical text or like the Bible or something like that. It's like so like precise and so much information about like what you see in the game. It's really great. I mean, if you guys can read Japanese, I highly recommend buying this Ultimania. There's just so much that you can see, and I haven't even really posted that much. I'm only summarizing things, so there's still way more that, you know, I haven't covered at all. But I think I got most of the main core of the Ultimania down. So all of the lore for the main, you know, like the main dominants and the NPCs, I have posted or are in the process of translating that I will post later this week. But I don't think I will be posting about like the minor characters that don't have timelines, because it's kind of like they're not as important. The ones that have timelines, I'm guessing, are more important. And yeah, tomorrow I will again post the history of Valisthea with the present day history that I haven't translated yet, and that will be very interesting, I think, for theory crafters especially. There's a lot that could be done, and I'm thankful for the devs' work, but I wanted more than 2 DLCs. Well, at least we, at the moment, have 2 DLCs, right? I mean, maybe we can get more if we, you know, are loud enough. I mean, we don't know how long each of those DLCs would be, right? It could be a couple of hours, which is good enough content to keep you satisfied for the next DLC to come out. Yeah, I hope there'll be more than 2, or like a FF16 sequel, but I guess it depends on how well the game did. Have they updated sales numbers after the 3 million? No, they have not updated sales numbers yet, but I'm assuming that they will at the end of the fiscal year, around February. They're gonna have some kind of like report, or March they'll have a report about how well FF16 did, or how well the console division did, which obviously one of the big ones is going to be FF16, and then also if they release FF7 Rebirth, that will also be in the financial report. But they also might report a third quarter final that would be sometime in December. So third quarter of the financial year, which is from September through December. So maybe they'll give information about FF16 sales then. 20-hour DLC would be freaking amazing. Holy shit. If only I could have a 10-hour DLC of the entirety of Barnabas and Sleipnir's backstories. That would be my ideal. It's a very, very ridiculous and illogical hope. Dion DLC would be awesome as well. FF14 crossover, I'm pretty sure they're going to announce that during either the Europe Fan Fest or the Japanese Fan Fest, so. FFs aren't known for their DLC. I don't know. How about Stranger of Paradise? They had like a couple of DLCs, right? So maybe they'll do something like that. Whoa! Stranger of Paradise DLC was 10 plus hours? Seriously? That would be amazing. If each of the DLCs are like 10 hours, like damn. That would be pretty amazing. Oh, I'm pretty sure that one of the DLCs is going to contain like that door and that tower that you never go to. Pretty sure that's going to be one of them. Oh, there's barely any story in that? Oh, I see. What about they just make a second game for FF10? FF10 or FF16? But yeah, ideally I would like each DLC to be about like at least 6 to 10 hours, I guess. If that's even possible. If not, like, 5 to 8 hours or something. So then both of them combined will be 10 hours. But I mean, I wish it was longer. Anyway, guys, I will probably finish stream here. I will continue to post more information about this, the FF16 Ultimania throughout the week. If you have any questions, you can ask me on Twitter. You can just send me a DM, or you can comment in any of my posts for the various lore for the game. And I will try to answer them. I will answer them by posting it, if it making a post if it's lore that hasn't been talked about yet. If it's not in the game or in the book, I will let you know. Yes, you guys are awesome. Thank you so much for tuning into my stream today. I will keep this VOD. It will be available on YouTube as well as Twitch, so you guys can always listen to it and hear more about the world of Valisthea and all of the characters and the areas and the Ultima lore that came from this Ultimania book. It's truly mind-blowing. And I'm sure that there's stuff that I haven't seen yet, so I will definitely keep on translating and summarizing it and posting it on Twitter. But yes, if you guys want to buy the book, you can always get it on Itaikuji. We have a shit ton of various books, merchandise for Final Fantasy 16. If you're interested, I'll just throw the link down here in the comments, or in the chat, I mean. The book is already out, so if you do purchase Ultimania from us, it'll probably ship within 3 to 4 days or so, 3 to 4 business days at least. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in. Thank you so much for the follows. Thank you for the subs. Thank you for the bits. You guys are awesome. And later this week, I'll be playing more FF7 Ever Crisis, and then probably going back to FF16 Final Fantasy mode. Oh, thank you so much, Fire Squall, for the 100 bits. You're too kind. But yes, I'll be back for more FF7 Ever Crisis and FF16 Final Fantasy mode later this week and next week. And also next week is Tokyo Game Show, so I'll be doing a stream about that as well after I come back from Tokyo Game Show, which will be September 21st and 22nd, next Thursday and Friday, which is the press day. So I get press gets access before the general public does. So I'll definitely let you guys know what I saw there. Oh, thank you so much for joining, Makoto. But I'm gonna be done with my stream right now, but my VOD will be up, so definitely check it out to see all of the juicy FF16 lore that I discussed today with everyone. All right, guys, I'll see you in the next stream then. Have a wonderful day, have a wonderful night where you are, and see you in the next one. Bye.